I have been drawing quite a few hands lately, over 100 hands from reference. And what I wanted to do was a little experiment and see, does drawing all these hands from reference, does that actually translate over into being able to draw hands from imagination, from memory, without reference? So this is where it all started. I'm going to share with you the whole process, what happened, how I got into this, and what I learned. I'm also going to share the images that I drew from imagination after drawing over 100 hands from reference. So I'm here in my brand new sketchbook that I just started. I am finally back doing ink. I missed it so much. There's just something about how inks look, and I prefer it over pencil, even though I am now so comfortable with pencil, having done so much of it in the previous sketchbook. But I'm back at ink. I've been doing a few drawings here and there, and then I started doing hands. And this isn't new. If you've seen any of my sketchbook tours or walkthroughs, you would have, it's not uncommon to see like a page of hand studies, right? And so I started getting into quite a bit of hand studies. And as I was going on, by the time I got to the end of this page, I was thinking in my head and I'm like, okay, this is getting too much, but I was really enjoying it. And I was trying to figure out what should I do because I know I needed to do a lot of other things as well. I need to practice my constructions, my fundamentals, some various different things that I know I wanted to do, but I was having so much fun with hands. So I did the only thing that any respecting artist would do in my situation. I bought an entirely new sketchbook. And the whole goal of this additional sketchbook that I draw was to kind of practice just some fundamental stuff, have it kind of like a scratch throwaway sketchbook that I could just do the things that I want to do, practice, have things that I'm probably not showing everyone up front, things that are a little bit more ordinary and boring, like fundamentals, right? And so I bought, for the first time, I have two sketchbooks going at once. This is the first time I have ever done that, but it's all in the service of all of the hands that I found myself drawing. So this is my solution. Was it a good one? I hope so. I have two sketchbooks now. But enough of that. We are back at the hands. And so and so yeah, all of these were from reference so far. And now with my new sketchbook to do my fundamentals, my scratch work, I continued on doing more hand studies, and I was really having a lot of fun. By the time I got to this page, I think this comparing this page to all of the studies that I've done before, I was seeing a lot of progress. Things were definitely getting a lot easier to draw, to conceptualize. Yes, there are still some mistakes, but I really love how this page turned out overall. Again, remembering that I am drawing with no underdrawing, straight with pen, so all the lines you're seeing here is exactly what I laid down, one shot, one try. And I think that's pretty amazing. Just knowing for myself where I came from, I'm really proud of this page. But that was not enough, right? Because if you are aware of my current goals, one of my goals is to be able to draw a lot of these things from memory, from imagination. And I know that just drawing from reference alone will not get me to where I want to be. So I decided to take two more steps here, trying to make it incremental. And this first step was okay, testing my memory. and kind of forcing my brain into this pattern of pulling information from my memory in terms of what I had before. The goal here was to just look at the reference, really try to study it, and then, without looking back at the reference, draw the entire hand from memory. Okay, so that's what I did next. You see here at the top of the page, I have limited memory new. These were different hand outlines that I hadn't done before. So these were brand new ones. On this page, these were actually some of the hands that I had done previously on those other pages. And I looked back at the reference, tried to get a good grasp of what was going on before putting it back here. And these were all new references. So I looked at them, really tried to get a grasp of what was going on, and then dove into the image. And hey, let's say I was pretty proud of how these turned out. Again, they are not perfect. There are quite a few mistakes in here. I mean, some very obvious, right? But all in all, I think this went really well for these pages. And so I decided to take it to the next level. All right. And the next level was without reference, without looking at my own hands that were in front of me. my, my plan was to draw an entire page of hands from memory, beginning to end, no looking at references. So let's see how that turned out. This is the full memory page here of hands. Now, some of these are for sure less than ideal. And I learned a few things from going through this entire process. First of all, I know a lot of people are going to go, hey, but you should be doing structures and all this type of things and the different forms and the cylinders for the fingers. And yes, I understand that. I've actually done those things before. One of the things I've found is that, yes, those things are good. And ultimately, it's the iterative process, right? So you do some structural stuff, you do some actual real life references, you learn, you go back to structure, and you kind of repeat, right? So it'll get better as we go along. But here's what I learned: you have to actually try to draw what your eventual goal for your art is, right? So my eventual goal is drawing from memory. And I think just as these images got better as I practiced them, even over the short term to this page here, which I think in my estimation really turned out well. I think the same thing happens here. Your brain seems to get better and better at holding information, and also your understanding of how fingers are positioned and things like that, and especially how they bend in different, I guess, hand gestures. Your understanding of how that works gets better and better, and even some of the mistakes that you make kind of inform and help you learn even more about what you're doing in terms of mistakes and how to be better next time. So there are a lot of mistakes here because, in effect, I was even trying to invent some of the hand gestures, and some things about some of them were successful, some things not so much. But I learned a lot even going through this page. Now, here's another thing I learned: you don't have to be 100% perfect. Even if you look at some of Kim Jong Gi's work, you will notice that you can, even at a very amateur level, definitely compared to to the legend, you can still find mistakes that he makes in his own work, right? So all of his hands are not perfect, and so you also don't need to be perfect. Some of the times things will be off, but it's a process, right? And the most important thing is to have fun. And that was what this whole process was about. I was having fun drawing hands. If you know me, I love drawing hands. And yeah, it turned out well. And one of the things I really realized is that at the beginning of each page, I normally did not like how things were turning out. But by the end of the page and seeing all of the hands on one page, I generally really liked how the pages looked. Except this except this hand here. What is going on? So we make mistakes. But yeah, I think this, in my estimation, do I think this was worth the experiment, all the iterations through all the hands? I would say 100% yes. I learned so much through this process from the very beginning, where I was really struggling and trying to pay so much attention to. By the time I got to this page in terms of references, I was kind of whipping it out, and it was so much easier understanding already how fingers work, the importance of the fingernails in positioning, how the cylinder of the fingers were turning, and all this type of stuff. I learned so much during this process. So if you are thinking about doing this, I would say two things. One, at the forefront of everything that I recommend, I want to make sure that you're having fun. If it's not fun for you to draw 100 hands, you should not do it all in one go. Don't do that to yourself. Don't burn yourself out. For me, I was having fun, and so I pushed through. I wanted to see how far I could push my memory in terms of drawing from imagination, how much I could push my understanding of hands, and I think it turned out well. So that's all I have for this video. If you'd like to continue to see my journey, how I started hopefully implementing some of these hand drawings into my own drawings, hit the subscribe button, follow me on my journey. I'll try to continue to be an inspiration to you all as I learned, and hopefully we can inspire each other together on this art journey. I'll see you in the next video.